And speaking of sneaking in, Debo decided to passive aggressively toss the Steelers in here as losers, even though I think it's basically to spite Wilson for all the Carson Wentz slander over the past week or so.
Truth telling.
Strictly based on Vegas odds.
It is wild that the Steelers signed Mitchell Trubisky to a 2-year deal. And Wilson was actually, I think you were kind of happy about this, but
I've been saying for weeks that he was my number one free agent because Jameis was going back to New Orleans.
I mean, I just think if you're I'm trying to think what a better outcome would be than Mitchell Trubisky if you're the Steelers.
Exactly. It ain't Dwayne Rudolph.
Mason Haskins.
Also, by the way, those odds, which Debo so gleefully, I think you put them into Slack, Brinson. But that
was not me.
Was it Debo?
It might have been me.
It was you.
Okay.
But our buddy Joe Musso, who's a Bears fan, also sent them to me. And they went from 55-1 with Mason Haskins to 71 with Trubisky. That just seems like made up. There's no way that this team has longer Super Bowl odds with Mason Rudolph no longer their quarterback.
Here's what I would suggest is the logic behind that. The Vegas, like we were talking about with the 49ers and Tom Brady, Vegas was cautioning against was preparing against the fact that if the Steelers went out and traded for Deshaun Watson.
Fair enough. Or even Aaron Rodgers, I guess, back a couple weeks ago, whatever.
Yeah. Maybe they dialed him back to 50-1 from like 35-1 when the Rodgers stuff was real. Then you move him back to 50-1.
Yeah. All right.
And then they actually signed Trubisky, which one of the things that's interesting about, and then so they know now we think Trubisky is the starter, put it back to 75-1.
By the way, that's the smartest thing you've said in probably 4 months. So I'll give you much credit for that.
Thank you. You know what's interesting about the Trubisky deal?
Yeah, here we go. You're back to being a dummy. Go ahead.
Not a peep of the financials. When does that
tell
happen?
you? What it happened with, I think Marcus Mariota didn't come out.
That tells you that the Steelers got a steal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But why would he? And this has been Debo's point for days now. Why is he even in demand? Because he just sat there very quietly and didn't throw any interceptions. That's why. So why would he suddenly go from the 1 year, whatever? He probably made a veteran minimum deal. I can't imagine it was a lot in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Why is he going to pay him 2 years? I bet you think it's 2 years, $20 million?
I was going to say over under $10 million.
Yeah,
per year.
I think it's under because Andy Dalton he's the 1 year, $10 million a year guy, and at least Andy Dalton has a track record. As much as we make fun of when Breech keeps bringing him up, he's not Andy Dalton in terms of the success he's had in the NFL. Now the cost of living and all that, but I figure it's going to be right around $10 million, or maybe it's more, but I feel like it should be less. If it was more, I feel like he would have come out already.
There's a very clear drop off from all the starters in the NFL.
Are you looking at the salaries now?
Yeah, with
what
Tom
did Trubisky
Brady
make last year? Sorry,
how much did who?
What did Trubisky make last year? Do you know? You have that in front of you?
$2.5 million.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Well, so there's a drop off. It's basically like every single starter, and then you have Tom Brady at the bottom at $25 million. That'll probably get adjusted. Then you go down to Teddy Bridgewater 11.5, Ryan Fitzpatrick 10, Taysom Hill 10, and then you get into the rookie contracts with Lawrence, Burrow, Murray, Wilson, Trey Lance, and then you have the Baker still on there, Cam Newton, Tua. Darnold should actually be higher because I think he's getting $18 million this year. But the point remains the same: is that there is this huge sort of window where franchise quarterbacks are going to make $25 million or more per year. And somebody like a Mitchell Trubisky, who is probably more like a backup, but maybe could parlay it into, like a backup money's like 2.5 or something like that.
In 2 years, he can parlay that into big money.
That's what I'm saying. Like he got paid like a backup last year. He's going to get starter money this year. So I would guess that it's somewhere
he's not getting starter money this year.
He's not getting franchise quarterback money. I think he'll get starter money, which is like Teddy Bridgewater. Is it like $10 million a year? I think 10 is a pretty good number. And paying your quarterback $10 million a year for 2 years is not bad if you end up getting good production from him.
If you pay Christian Kirk $18 million, you can certainly pay your starting quarterback $10 million.
Well, it's a steal. If you get if the Steelers make the playoffs and he's only making $10 million a year, that's a fantastic deal.
There's no way it's above 15, right?
It would be out by now, I would imagine, or maybe the Steelers are embarrassed and don't want it out.
Yeah, that could be why it's not out. I would guess it's 10-ish, like right around 10-ish. Maybe
a bunch of escalators in there.
Bunch of escalators, bunch of incentives. Make the Pro Bowl. Steelers make the playoffs. Blah 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 blah.
And you know what? Maybe the Giants, because you've talked about them. Maybe they offered more. Maybe there's some other places that offer more. But this is probably the best landing spot for him. I don't know who else would be in the running. New Orleans, I would imagine Jameis or Deshaun or whatever. I don't think Mitch would be in the running down there. They have Taysom Hill, which is the same thing, but older and more brittle. So
Colts could be a good spot for him.
Colts might be a good spot for him, but they're so recently burned by Carson Wentz. Maybe they want to move on from the athletic quarterback.
I mean, it's very possible that he, did he grow up a Steelers fan? Am I crazy for thinking that?
Trubisky, he is from
Ohio,
the
right?
best state in the country, Brinson.
He's not from North Carolina. He played college football in North Carolina.
Ohio. The answer is Ohio.
Anyway, my point being is that this is a good landing spot with a stable situation. Why not take the money and go be the Steelers quarterback for 2 years? If you ball out, you are going to get a ton of money moving forward.
How often does that happen, by the way, that a retread balls out? My 25-year-old retread balls out and gets paid. I'm trying to think. Nothing pops to mind. Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah,
that's best case scenario.
That's actually a great example. That's the perfect example.
That's the absolute ceiling for Mr. Trubisky. The floor, of course, is Mr. Trubisky.
if the Steelers got Ryan,
that's huge.
And they're actually kind of similar quarterbacks, I think.
And they left a situation that wasn't great for them.
Minimal starts, drafted really high in the first round. Good production statistically at their first landing spot, but you sort of knew it just wasn't there. And, athletic guys who can throw on the run. I mean, look, it's very Trubisky only had 12 starts in college, and then he was thrust into the Bears gig with John Fox for a year, and then Matt Nagy in that disastrous situation. And there's just so much pressure on him. I think a year. I mean, I don't think he's magically fixed everything by being in Buffalo, but I think a year working behind Josh Allen, working with Brian Dable, and that coaching staff will go a long way. Do the Steelers still have? Who's the Steelers? It's not Matt Canada, is it?
Oh yeah, they kept him around, and maybe look. I was sort of trying to talk myself into this. Maybe this motion offense with an athletic quarterback helps, and that's why Tomlin was talking it up at points this offseason. We'll see. If you can't throw accurately, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And to reinforce our Bears friends, Joe Musso and Sean Wagner-McGuff, both took great pleasure in making fun of me about the new Steelers quarterback. By the way, which I was quite happy to have, as I made clear.
Well, I mean, I asked you guys in Slack, what do you think that Mitchell Trubisky is an upgrade over 2021 Ben Roethlisberger?
He's less accurate, but more athletic. That's what I said.
So is that an upgrade?
It's like half a dozen of one. I think Big Ben wasn't good at throwing deep balls. I don't remember Mr. Trubisky being especially good at that either. So I think he adds more of an element in terms of if you do want to do more RPO stuff, he probably makes things easier for Najee Harris, who took 1,000 hits last year. And you still have to fix the offensive line. And maybe if he has more time back there, I'm just hoping that Brian Dable has some sort of secret sauce about how to make quarterbacks more accurate. He did it with Josh Allen, and maybe some of that rubbed off on Mr. Trubisky. Because if he's out there short hopping passes and missing guys wide ass open, which is what made Matt Nagy so angry, then you're just sort of watching $10 million burn. Yeah,
I mean, I think regardless, you will this gives you some stability, even if it's like I think it gives you a pretty good ceiling, a fairly decent floor, and you're not panicked. I like this idea better than Jimmy G, and I'm a Jimmy G guy, right? Just
Thank you. That I agree with.
You're not giving up any draft compensation, and the QB class isn't great, so you don't have to waste a draft pick on a quarterback. This is basically your gap year. You take Trubisky. If he plays well, boom, you have your starter. And if he doesn't, then you are back at square one next year, and maybe there'll be another quarterback available.
By the way, Debo crushing the stats, even though he hates talking about Mr. Trubisky. He notes that the Bears schemed open throws to Trubisky by using play action. 34.2% play action rate was second highest in the NFL, behind Tannehill in 2020.
Tannehill, that was our
similarity.
And
then the Steelers last season, 12.1% of their passes were play action, lowest play action rate.
Well, I mean, you can't run play action with Ben because he'll trip over his own feet or be tackled by the time that he fakes the handoff.
And that's exactly what Matt Canada
RPO, a Ben Roethlisberger RPO. Just
more like RP no.
That's double dunk.
Double Harlan. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Like the Steelers are better today than they were yesterday, and probably the same as they were 2 months ago.
Let me ask you this: do you think there's a chance that the Steelers, and they're more likely to fall? I think now because of the way that these teams are sort of filling up their rosters. Do you think the Steelers would consider taking Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis and then having could Mitchell Trubisky get Trubisky'd? Just like he did to Glennon, could he end up getting in a? And I think the Steelers will be more patient with him. But we see this a lot where these teams go out and sign this sort of middling, bounce back.
Yeah, but they have that guy in Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. You already have a scrub first round pick on there, and a guy that you said was a first round grade. I don't know if you go out and get another quarterback if you love this quarterbacks class. I get it. I mean, maybe they do it, but it just feels like, do you need 3 retread veteran quarterbacks to draft another one? You can do that too.
Shout out to Quinn Rep in the comments. I did not see that comment before. I just saw it was Brinson stealing my question. It's a great question. You can toss out there. Is Pickett there for the Steelers? What do you do? It's actually on our rundown.
You take an offensive lineman. Okay.
Now Brinson's giving credit.
Yeah, he gets called out to his face. Then he backpedals.
I saw a stat that said it was like every quarterback signed in free agency for like in between like $10 and $15 million per year over the last like 15 years. The team also drafted a quarterback that year.
So you're admitting to stealing that stat you just saw that you didn't just give credit to. Got it.
Probably took it from Nick Underhill too.
Hey-o! You don't wait forget nothing today.
Oh, hey. All right. Anything else on the Steelers quarterback situation?
Breech, are you more nervous today than you were yesterday about the Steelers?
Ooh.
You don't care.
1% more nervous. I think Trubisky is a huge step up from Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins, or, I think he's a decent fit for the Steelers offense. So, yes, I am, they'll say 3% more worried.
Yeah, I think what you're getting basically Cordell Stewart from 20 years ago. And that was fun at times.
Except now teams know how to use quarterbacks like that.
Yeah, it was frustrating at times too. Don't get me wrong, but Cordell was at least exciting. So hopefully, like I said to you guys, 3 weeks optimism in September, then reality will set in, and I'll wish they had drafted Kenny Pickett or Sam Howell or Malik Willis.
Okay.
Wilson, have you ordered Trubisky Steelers jersey yet?
I already ordered one. I have to return my Deshaun, Russ Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey though.
Tough scene.